Hey, Christine here again. I just thought I would talk a little bit while I'm fixing my mess with the chainmail. I just recorded the video on what I was doing with this altered book, and so now I'm just here trying to fix this. I just got done watching the David Pakman show where they just talked about this news article that is saying about the mass extinction that we're facing now. And if you float around news articles and you see, like we have some dumb politicians out there, we have people who are so justified in their monotheistic religions, that they're hoping for end times rapture and all of this stuff. And so they're not being extremely environmentally conscious. And then if you have the fact that the Koch brothers, the Crotch brothers as I like to call them, and several others have been long ago bought out by the big oil companies. And these are the people who are producing the anti-science bullshit, like they're behind the anti-vaccinations, I think the big pharmaceuticals are, because that way they make more money when people get sick. These guys here are shills for the oil companies, the ones that are trying to say that there is no climate change. Their funding, if you can look up their funding, and it shows that they're getting massive donations from these big oil companies. Hello, conflict of interest. So they're trying to say that science is crap and that all scientists are lying and that there is no global, there's no climate change. There's no problems with pollution, things like that. Once again, and I've said it in another video, go and stick your mouth up against a frickin' tailpipe, inhale deeply while the car is running, and then call me tomorrow and tell me how you feel. We are affecting the planet in an adverse way, and I know a lot of pagans and there are a lot of Christians who've seen the light as far as trying to clean things up and try to reverse these processes. People that don't deny science, we have a huge road ahead of us to try and make this, try to reverse this. And I don't know if we can reverse it. I don't know if that's going to be possible. It's just, we've done so much damage, and now we're in the biggest species die-off in 65 million years. And this whole die-off started in the 1800s with our industrial age. That's got to say something. That's saying we did have an adverse effect. So how do we fix this? I think we need to get after these lobbyists, and I just don't know how. This takes some massive funding that, the everyday person does not have. And the problem is if you try to get elected and try to run for public office, you are fighting these big guys who have a lot of backing. And I just don't know how we can fix this other than trying to affect our personal corners of the world, doing our gardening, being conscious about things, recycling, and not just submitting things to the recycling centers, because one thing that you'll find out if you investigate further is you tend to get charged more for these recycling centers to have your recycling moved into a recycling center. you get charged. You do not get paid for this, because recycling does cost a lot more money. They have to sort through it. And if your stuff ends up on a truck where some idiot had gone and threw in dirty diapers or who knows what into the recycling bin, that whole batch has to be thrown out. They cannot have that mixed. And so it's such a big issue. So we need to do what we can at home. That includes setting up bartering systems with your neighbors if you can. Trade for furniture. If you have some sort of skills, or decide maybe you can develop skills, go take community education classes on furniture refinishing and things like that, and learn to recycle some of this stuff and barter it off with community members who, try to set up a circle where you're exchanging like kids' clothes or furniture for furniture or things like that. And I think that's going to help immensely. And while, recycling aluminum cans is not extremely lucrative, still do it. Gather them up, save them. If you don't want to go and haul them someplace, there's got to be somebody out there, a neighbor or somebody who will, and who will just take them off your hands. You're out a few spaces of garbage bags full of pop cans. This is aluminum cans. Seriously. These rings were made from aluminum cans and scrap aluminum from ringlord.com. They go and they recycle aluminum. And this is what it gets recycled into. So even if you're not getting a lot of money out of it, for one thing, you're not getting charged for your city hauling this stuff away. For another, some of your cans ended up in costumes in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I'm not kidding. So there's stuff that can be done, and it's our responsibility to do it. Besides our gardening, besides going out and picking up trash in your neighborhood, things like that, if we can affect these little areas, and then keep a big eye on your senators and on the politics in your area and the global politics, we have a massive uphill battle against us, unfortunately. It's all about money. It's not about the people, and especially in America, it's supposed to be about the people. The first thing it says in the Declaration of Independence is "we the people." Well, unfortunately, our government has become part of the free market. It got sold to the highest bidder, and we need to somehow try and take that back. A lot of people are saying vote Bernie Sanders and stuff. Well, I'm a little afraid, because that kind of fervor was also for Obama. And Obama has, also been kind of going for the big boys. And in some respects, no, he hasn't forgotten about the little guy. But there's a lot of things where you can tell he's out there for the big market. Hillary Clinton is going to be the same thing, I'm afraid. I don't trust any of the politicians right now. I don't trust any of them. And that's frightening. While I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders, I don't trust the process right now. And I honestly do not know what to do about this. To do about my attitude lately towards it, because this has been just steady disappointment all the time, except for the gay marriage vote. But the process and the hype and both sides fighting and the stupid coming out, and with all the stupid for, now trying to, like Texas, they snuck the Bible into the science classroom, and they did it legally, and it's there. Our government process is not serving us. And I've lost faith in it. I don't know. Maybe if I were to turn around and run for office, I don't know. But something's got to be done. We have to. This big die-off is not a good sign for any of us. And while, yeah, the world is going to recover, Gaia may recover without us. You know? How much of a chance do we want to take, and how much do we want to let the political morons ruin and rule and destroy our lives and our home? This planet is our home. And it starts with the communities. If we can get the communities together to fight back, and fight back in a good way, and make a change. The other thing that another nurse and I were talking about one night is I was watching this video where this guy went and rode his bike across country and lived out of what he found in dumpsters. And now, I've said before in other videos, I live in an area where there's a lot of homeless people. And I live in a poor black neighborhood on top of it. But there's a lot of homeless on the street corners. And, you know, I do what I can. It's summer right now. I try to carry really cold bottles of water with me because it's super hot outside. Boy, I can see where I screwed that stitch up in the first place. So, you know, I'm doing what I can there. But it's definitely not enough. And we're being controlled by people who have decided that humanity is something to throw away. And life is something to throw away. And I don't mean abortion. Because, while, yeah, I think abortion in itself is necessary in certain cases. If the baby's viable, then you're dealing with something else entirely. But, I mean life. Once that child is born, there's a lot of times that child is living with not enough to eat for a single day. And the school programs are not enough. And funding for food stamps has been cut and cut and cut, and military expenditures have gone up and up. Sorry, there goes my phone. That child has no chance. Even with education, anything else. It's like, okay, now that the baby's born, tough luck, see ya. We've cheapened that life. And we've cheapened the living things on this planet. And especially to my fellow pagans out there, not to get preachy, but it's our responsibility to protect this planet and protect the innocent and the helpless. And we have to, besides the recycling and besides the bartering and all of this, we have to find certain ways to be able to better our communities. And with this guy that was living out of the dumpsters on his bike tour, these were restaurants, these were grocery stores that something was one day out of sell-by date. Not freshness, but the sell-by date. And the stuff, tons of it ends up in the dumpsters. This is inappropriate. So there again, how much of the things that we're growing in this land that we've taken up with single crops and everything, how much of this stuff is just getting wasted? That's not good for the environment either. And that's certainly not good for the people. Especially when you have somebody who could eat that meal. Could eat that salad, could eat that thing of yogurt. A thing of Yoplait is good for a month past the sell-by date. I know that because I've had to survive with that before. I mean, there's so much waste. And with all that waste, we're poisoning the landscape. With all the pollution, if we can get more towards cars like what Tesla's offering and things like that, more solar panels on our roofs, all these different things that we need to start doing, and we're not, because these big fucking oil companies have got their mitts in our governmental process. We the people, we have a responsibility to take this back. And while I don't know how, hopefully this video has given some suggestions. And not just for my pagan friends out there, but, you know, anybody else too. This isn't dependent on religion, but please don't let the dominionists and the rapture people have their way, because they want the planet destroyed so that their God Jesus comes. That we can't let that happen. They're making this happen. And the problem is it's not even the religious. It's the people with the money that are doing it. And mainly this thing where corporations are considered people and all of this stuff. Yeah. We're in a feudal system now. We're serving the king. And the king, unfortunately, are the big companies that are into the biofuels and don't want us to have the clean fuels and things like that, because then they're going to lose their money. We have to fight the king now. We can't live with this feudal system. We're dying with this feudal system. And part of the feudal system also is this crap with education. You think about who is fighting having the first 2 years of college being free. It's the GOP. It's the people in power. Giving people 2 years of college free is not going to hurt anything. If they want to go on and get a master's after that, so be it. I have 2 degrees myself. But right now I'm facing the fact that my own child had to put up a GoFundMe, because even though she got a boatload of scholarships for the university she wants to go to for engineering, she still has to come up with $3,000 a month besides. And I can't afford it. I'm on a limited income. This shouldn't be the case. So they're trying to keep people stupid by fighting against plans like this to say, hey, let's at least pay for the first 2 years of school. They want us to not think. They want us to be dumb, because then we're not going to take a look at who is causing the problems. And our children are suffering for it. The land is suffering for it. All of this ties in together. All of it. Our health, our welfare, our well-being, our psychological well-being, everything ties in together. Nothing is a single issue on its own, except who is in power and what they are doing to the world. So I implore you, conspiracy theorist, whatever, yeah, there are some conspiracies out there, and unfortunately, some of them are right in our face. But climate change, this die-off, this is not conspiracy, people. This is actually what is happening. This is reality, and we need to do something about it. So there, I've said my piece. This was completely unplanned, but I had to say it. So anyway, you guys have a great night. Hopefully take some of this to heart, and hopefully we can affect some change. Blessed be.